Oh, I guess I have to make a review, don't I? Kill me. Kill me right now. Kill me, please. Please, don't make me review this book. It's fucking horrible. Um, it's so bad that I'm not going to even ask for anyone in my house to stop talking, because this book doesn't deserve that. I'm not going to give it a can rants treatment because that's too good for it. I am just going to review this book and try to explain how you can make a better book, Chuck Wendig, you stupid, ignorant twat. Okay, now I got that off my chest. This is the Aftermath review. Aftermath is a book by Chuck Wendig that is part of the Aftermath trilogy. What a great name to call a trilogy of books. Aftermath. You know, I left some Aftermath in the toilet the other day, and it was a lot better than this book. Hey-o! Anyway, so Aftermath, I can't even tell you what this book is about. It says it's about a crisis on Akiva. What the fuck is Akiva? It's a new canon planet. I'd never heard of it in the Legends universe, so I don't think it exists there. Just like Jakku, which sounds like a Wookiee sneeze. Akiva is some sort of jungle planet that's ruled by a king, and they have marketplaces, and it's hot and humid. It's in the Outer Rim. That's about it, folks. So what happens in this book? Well, after the Battle of Endor, the Empire is severely damaged but not defeated. Sound familiar, anyone? Well, several of the admirals and a Grand Moff meet on Akiva to talk about the strategy for rebuilding their fallen empire. Admiral Sloane, being the leader of the Navy right now, she intercepts a ship piloted by Wedge Antilles, and henceforth captures Wedge and attempts to use Wedge as a gambling piece to get something out of the New Republic that's not ever mentioned or explained at all. The Empire proceeds to put a blockade around Akiva in secret, and in turn decides the fate of the Empire. Meanwhile, a smuggler's ship goes through the blockade, very Phantom Menace-esque, and it is piloted by some woman who was a Y-Wing pilot that's never mentioned in Return of the Jedi, but was there in the Battle of Endor anyway. Sound familiar? Shattered Empire. Oh, sorry, did that come out? Because I meant it to. She's trying to find her son, who she finds who is not Jake Lloyd Anakin from The Phantom Menace, but acts almost exactly like him, only if he was a crybaby teenager. So, also a combination of Jake Lloyd Anakin and Hayden Christensen's Anakin. Oh boy, that sounds wonderful. And he has a wacky Jar Jar-esque robot with him called Mr. Bones, who's a B-1 battle droid with a sword, and he dances around, and oh, he's so cutesy as he's horribly murdering people. Meanwhile, we have a Zabrak bounty hunter who's boring and forgettable, who's a woman. We have an ex-Imperial loyalty officer named Sinjir, who's a drunk and is a deserter and is gay. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is the first Star Wars book to have multiple gay characters. And if you don't like this book, that means you're anti-gay and you're a racist and you're not PC and you're a piece of shit. Well, I'm going to explain to you several reasons why this book sucks ass, and the gay characters aren't a part of that. They're kind of forgettable, but they're not part of that. Meanwhile, all these characters... Oh, we also have some Rambo-esque character who's part of a task force that's in 3 chapters and shows up at the end. But he is entirely forgettable, and we will skip him for the most part. Meanwhile, these characters are forced to be together. They're forced to team up and defeat the imperial oppression of Akiva. I think that happened. I'm not entirely sure, because we're going to get into why this book sucks and how I would fix it. First off, the way this book is written. Chuck Wendig decided that he was going to be an artist when writing this book and decided to write it in third-person present tense. I will give you an example of it. Suddenly, lightning is flashing all over the place. Blaster fire all over. She suddenly has to run. She keeps running and running and running. It's present tense. The whole book is that way. It makes for some interesting action scenes. But the thing is, when the action gets too intense, you don't know what's going on. It'll be present tense from one sort of person, and then it'll flip-flop to another person, and you have no idea what's going on. And then overall, it's annoying. My God, I couldn't physically read this book. I had to listen to the audiobook. That's how bad it was. I read the first couple chapters, and I'm like, ooh, this is garbage. I'm not going to buy this in print. So I got the audiobook off of Audible because I had credit. And what a waste of a credit. What a fucking waste. Ugh. Shoot me, please. Please put me out of my misery here, Kill me. This book is fucking horrible. Alright, I'm repeating myself here. So first off, Mr. Wendig, I want you to watch my video and take notes on how to write a good Star Wars book. Because it's possible that, you could, when you make Aftermath 2 Electric Boogaloo, or Life Dead, or whatever the fuck you're calling it, you could actually take some notes from this and you make the second one readable. First off, don't write in this stupid style. It's awful, and it reeks of, I wrote this in 5 weeks, or when you're writing a report in school, and then you wait till the last day to do it. We've all done that before, and you write it really quickly. It reads like that. You get rid of this stupid present tense thing, and you actually look up stuff. That's the key here. You're writing a Star Wars book. It has, even with it being rebooted, it still has things in it that are considered canon from whether you watched it on Dave Filoni's Clone Wars, which you seem to have watched some of it. You know kind of what you're talking about there. But there's stuff established in the new novels and the comic books that you can pull from. You don't. In fact, some of the characteristics in your aliens are kind of wonky and don't make a whole lot of sense, but I won't get into that. That's really, really nitpicking. But, I could tear this book apart even more so, but I won't. I'll restrain myself. Because you're going to be like, ooh, you hate gays. Oh, you're some sort of cisgen male. Social justice warriors and white knights jump on this guy. He's a fucking asshole. Seek retribution. But shut the fuck up. And we'll get on with the review. Next, write good characters. You have some good ideas on characters. I'm not going to say you don't have decent ideas. Sinjar's not necessarily a bad character. You don't let him be who he is, necessarily. I mean, he's supposed to be the witty one-liner sidekick, the Robin, so to speak, but you don't let him really do that often. Next, your Zabrak bounty hunter. Could have her be the next Boba Fett, make her more badass. She has a couple badass things that are kind of really stupid, but it's very 80s action hero-esque in a way. So, that's acceptable. But here's where your characters fall apart. The mother and child. they're entirely fucking useless. Mother in particular, she's a good pilot. Too bad she doesn't pilot things often until the very end when you remembered, oh yeah, she's a crack pilot. I mean, the PTSD thing is fine, I guess. You can have that, but, you know, actually let her do more flying and stuff. I mean, not too much. Kid, he fixes things. He's a mechanical wizard. He uses that skill twice in the whole book. You could have done that more, you know. Anyway, enough. Sloane. What I got from this was Sloane was a character I don't think you even created. Disney and Del Rey decided they needed another Thrawn. And in turn they decided, well, we can't have a Chiss because Chiss don't really exist in this canon yet. We haven't decided if they're going to be in the new canon or not. So you're going to make a human woman who's cunning and a bitch. But isn't fucking evil. So, with that being said, you create Sloane. Probably the best character of the book. She's playing everyone against each other. She's very cunning. Interesting character enough, but that's about all you've got going for you. Next, and one of my biggest gripes with this book are the interludes. What is an interlude, pray tell? Well, this is when the story decides it's not going to continue for a while. For about 5 minutes or so in the audiobook, I don't know, a quarter of a chapter, every other chapter, we have something called an interlude, which deals with characters that we will never deal with again. For instance, in this book, we have Dengar. You remember Dengar? He's the guy with the bandages in Empire Strikes Back that's with all the other bounty hunters, the only other human one there. He's there, and he's fighting some bounty hunter who I don't even remember, but he was kind of like Nightwing from Batman. He had nightsticks, or short sticks. Anyway, they're fighting, and Dengar makes some claims about how they should have a bounty hunters union. That's stupid. That doesn't need to be in the book, and hopefully that will never go anywhere. 'Cause my god, your canon's ruined at that point with something that stupid. That's like when Padme, the R2-D2 and C-3PO had to find like a cake topper for Padme's cake, or like someone poisoned Padme's tea. Oh wait, Dave Filoni already did that, and that's part of your canon. Oh, I forgot. Stupid's already in there. That's not entirely your fault. You're just getting ideas from the Filoni man. Baloney Filoni. Anyway, I'll give you some examples of interludes that are entirely useless. Bunch of boys are going to the Imperial Academy because apparently kids the age of Oliver Twist go to the Imperial Academy for no reason. Even though it's a military academy, not an elementary school. And then a rebel's like, oh yeah, we killed all the Imperials, you're free. But you can join the Rebel Academy. And the kid's like, oh, right, that's a great idea. And then that never goes anywhere. The only one that's really going anywhere is Mon Mothma is now Chancellor of the New Republic, which now the Senate meetings are no longer on Coruscant for literally no reason. I don't know why. I guess because they were in the old canon. So the new canon, no, we're going to put it on this planet. No one knows because it's one of the new planets. We're not going to explain what the planet's like, except for Mon Mothma's from there. Oh, and Mon Mothma's now a pacifist. Yeah, the leader of the Rebel Alliance is a pacifist. And it's talking about unarming the New Republic. Gee, I wonder why the First Order is in power in Episode 7. Oh, what a stunner! You did something that stupid. My god. Mon Mothma in this book is literally the worst character in Star Wars, period. Truly the worst character in all of Star Wars of all time. Mon Mothma, new canon. And it seems like she's being manipulated by someone, like legitly. And she's just letting it happen. I'm sorry, what happened to the powerful Mon Mothma from like the Brian Wood Star Wars series? I mean, or remember when she talks to Kyle Katarn in Dark Forces, Soldier of the Empire, and they literally size each other up? Yeah, that cool Mon Mothma's gone. Instead, we have a pacifist one that's like a crybaby. Like, oh, I just want to go pick some daisies in the field and skip around and jump into a pile of leaves. No. That's not how you write Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma is set up as a character already. But no. You ruin her. Mon Mothma is ruined in this book so badly that she can never be unruined in new canon. I don't care if she suddenly grows a pair, for lack of a better term. Oh no, I'm sexist. I'm so sorry. Oh yeah, hate me. I'm the honky devil. Anyway, let's see, what else? Oh, Han and Chewie are in this book for one interlude. Yeah, the only of the main characters in the original trilogy that actually show up like legit. Well, Leia's in a hologram sending a message out to Outer Rim worlds to get them to join the New Republic. But that's all you see of Leia. Literally no Luke at all. I guess Luke's off limits right now. It's like writing a Yoda story in Legends. I mean, you just don't do that shit. But we got Han and Chewie go to Kashyyyk to free the Wookiees. They don't even actually go to Kashyyyk. They get the message to go to Kashyyyk to free the Wookiees. And Han and Chewie apparently are going rogue from the New Republic. Yeah. That's weird and kind of stupid. We get a first appearance of the Knights of Ren, possibly. For those of you who don't know or don't care about the new canon, from what I've heard from doing research prior to this video, Kylo Ren, who's the guy with the stupid sword lightsaber with the cross guard that will cut off his hand, his last name technically isn't Ren. It's a title like Darth, but they don't do Darth, and they don't say why, but it's probably because George came up with Darth as a title, and they're like, fuck George Lucas. Even though he made this great thing that we're making money off of, fuck him. We're gonna make our own stupid thing that's exactly the same as what he did. So there's the Knights of Ren, and we get someone who's trying to buy Darth Vader's lightsaber, or it's a red lightsaber, on Terrace, of all places. So Terrace from Knights of the Old Republic is canon. The planet's canon. Whether the bombing of Terrace happened or not is beyond me. But Terrace is canon. Guess they wanted a planet. They didn't even describe what Terrace looked like. They just wanted a planet name, and Leland G said, yeah, you could use Terrace, yeah. I don't know. There's an interlude where some bounty hunters are retaking Cloud City for Lando. So I guess Lando's gonna have Cloud City in new canon. That's cool. It's good to hear about Lando, you know. Even though Lando's, like, not in this book at all. What happened to the Lando love? I still got Lando love. I mean, who doesn't? Lando's the shit, man. But these interludes are mostly pointless, and they don't lead to anything at all. Except for the Senate is beginning, or some stupid thing. Maybe... Oh, and there's a Jakku interlude, just establishing that the planet's a shithole. It doesn't even matter what was talked about on Jakku. It matters that Jakku is quote-unquote a wasteland. So, I guess we should just call this one Tatooine too, but no, it's called Jakku. They rhyme pretty much. Not really. Two and Jakku. I guess. It's kind of pushing it, but, you know. So, yeah, you could have done... The interludes had a good purpose, but it shouldn't have been in this book. If you really want to have all those interludes, just put it, Chucky, just put it in a book called Tales from the New Republic. Oh wait, that already exists. It was edited by Kevin J. Anderson. Just come out with like the Aftermath Tales or something with several short stories. Oh, and get rid of the Ankle Biter Brigade. That name in itself is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And I've heard a lot of stupid in this new canon, like the TIE Fighter Wibbled and Wobbled, which is a good transition to how you describe things. There's a lot of unnecessary alliteration in this book. Like, literally for no reason alliteration, and then making up things that don't make any sense, like making up sound effect words and stuff. I mean, that's cute in a kid's book or a young adult novel, but this is an adult novel. I don't think it's really not necessary to have that many goofy, wacky words. And then people saying stupid things, like Dengar wanting a bounty hunters union. Chuck, I get that you're pro-union or some shit, maybe. I mean, some of your beliefs come out for no reason in this book. Like, your political satire when you had one of the Imperial officers say, oh, we should just build a wall, cutting the galaxy in half. Your joke about the Berlin Wall is really dated and stupid. The Bounty Hunters Union, that's stupid. The Ankle Biter Brigade, literally, that's something that happened. I'm not even going to explain what that is. It should be, except for they were kids that helped take Coruscant back, I guess. But Coruscant isn't taken back? I'm not sure. It's not really mentioned. It was in a couple interludes. But the Ankle Biter Brigade, that's stupid. That's something Dave Filoni would create. I mean, you are probably working with Dave Filoni. You're probably best buds coming up with the stupidest things possible. You know. Yeah, you made... So, how does this book stack up? This is the worst Star Wars book I have ever read. Literally. It is by far the worst Star Wars book I've ever read. It outdoes Red Harvest, Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void, Planet of Twilight, Crystal Star, Tatooine Ghost, which was just really boring, The Cetus Deception. It is the worst. Now, I didn't read Heir to the Jedi. That takes me back to Minox Nest. Some of you are going to get that reference to that joke that Tim did. Love Commander. But I didn't read Heir of the Jedi. I heard it was really bad, and I'm not a big fan of first-person books, especially if it's a character I really, really, really like Luke Skywalker. I don't want to read that, because that would probably ruin the character for me, so I avoid those like the plague. But Aftermath, my God. The thing about this book is it could have been the grand slam for the new canon. And financially, it was. I'm not going to lie to you, Chuck. You made a mediocre book, or pretty awful book, sell like hotcakes. And that's no thanks to you. That's thanks to Del Rey and Disney's ridiculous amount of marketing. This being the first Journey to the Force Awakens series of books, which apparently they aren't all bad, and they aren't all just mediocre. But the two I've read, bad and mediocre. What this boils down to was this needed to be, and it really, especially at the end, which I will spoil shortly, it needed to be an heir to the, essentially Disney's heir to the Empire. And here's where I get this correlation. We had 4 books shoved that were announced immediately. We had A New Dawn, which did terribly, Tarkin, which did bad, but not as bad as A New Dawn, Heir of the Jedi, which did significantly better than Tarkin, but was overall hated by fans. Like, really hated. And then we have Lords of the Sith, which was the best of the bunch, but as you, me personally, I reviewed that not too long ago. It was just a mediocre book. Then you had Dark Disciples, because you probably weren't done with Aftermath yet. You were probably going through some sort of editing hell, because it seems like it was worse. So you have Dark Disciples, which was actually did worse than Lords of the Sith. It actually went down in marketing. So what this needed to be was a grand slam, and it did well on USA Today's reviews. I think it broke the top 10, but it didn't stay. Like with all the new canon books, it gets in the top 100, and then it leaves the next week. That's literally how all of the books have been. And I like to think of these new books as a lot like the original Del Rey Star Wars books from the late 70s and early 80s. We had the Han Solo Adventures trilogy, the Lando Calrissian Adventures trilogy, and Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Five books. Well, not five. I'm fucking stupid. We had 7 books. Instead, with the new canon, we have 5 books. I don't have to list them because I already did. And none of them really have stayed. They really haven't. They just don't have staying power. And Aftermath was supposed to be that book, that Heir to the Empire. But you have to understand that Heir to the Empire is lightning in a bottle. You can't recreate the Thrawn trilogy. I know you're going to try with these next 2 Aftermath books, but you can't create what Timothy Zahn did. Timothy Zahn was writing at a time, and I will get into this in another video, but I'll just touch upon it briefly. Timothy Zahn wrote Star Wars at a time when Star Wars was dead. The only thing coming out Star Wars related were RPGs. And back then, not a lot of people played role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. It was still kind of taboo. So, having Star Wars role-playing supplements, that's not a real big accomplishment at the time for George. So, when Zahn wrote Heir to the Empire, it was like, wow, it had to be really good. It had to reinvigorate Star Wars. And it did. It was lightning in a bottle. That's what got people wanting more. So Dark Force Rising came out. And then when they wanted more, they got The Last Command. And then you ended up with all sorts of stuff like Truce of Bakura and Courtship of Princess Leia and all that stuff. And when that died, they switched it up. Ari Salvatore wrote Vector Prime was the game changer. Everything changed after that. The thing with Aftermath is it's like it backpedaled. It backpedaled not necessarily in the way it was, in the way it's written. It's written like it was written by a 7th grader, but it was written. It's hard for me to explain how this book sucks. It's like they wanted to get lightning in a bottle again. You can't do that. Especially not with Chuck Wendig. I mean, the only way you could have even come close to that is if you had Zahn write another trilogy. And I don't think Zahn will ever write Star Wars again after what's been going on with this new canon. Although, let's be frank here, I do believe that there was Thrawn comes in at the very end of this book. And here's why. Well, first off, we have what I thought was ripping off of Dark Empire. Admiral Sloane tells Grand Moff Pandion that he's not dead. And Grand Moff Pandion's like, you can't be serious. And I'm like, oh God, they're talking about the Emperor. Something that people have been hating for a long time that are casuals. They hate the Dark Empire trilogy. They hate it. They think it is really stupid and very dated. And for those of you who don't know, the Dark Empire trilogy's premise is Palpatine's body died in the second Death Star, but his Sith spirit occupied a clone of him. Like, he has all these clones because the Force lightning's so horrible on his body that he has to have different bodies to transfer into. And yes, that was canon. I consider it still canon. It's Sith possession, which has been used countless times in the older EU. But instead, when we finally get to this guy, he's an officer. He may even been called Grand Admiral. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember. But he is not described at all, except for he's male. That's about it. He had mannerisms that were Thrawn-esque. Very simply Thrawn-esque. So I don't know if Thrawn was in this book. In the grand scheme of things, most of the Imperial officers either die or they're captured. Sloane's the only one that escapes. Barely. The Rambo-esque rebel commando guy, he kind of blows a hole in the ship they're using while they're trying to escape Akiva. That's like his main contribution. That and swearing a whole... There's a whole lot of swearing. I seriously think Chuck Wendig used the F-bomb over and over and over again in the book, and they changed it to fragging. I'm not sure. There's a lot of swearing from the kid. And, yeah. There's a lot of stupid in this book. A lot. Now, I haven't really touched on most of the plot of this book, because literally it's such a mess that I don't want to dissect it any more than I have to. And it feels like I've been doing this video for like an hour now. So I'm just going to say, what do I give this book out of 5 stars? 1. The only reason it gets 1 star, not 0 out of 5, is the fact that some interesting ideas were put into this book. It's just horribly, horribly, horribly. Did I hear something? Oh yeah, horribly executed. Truly, this is one of the worst written books I've ever read in my entire life. I've read a lot. I read constantly. And this is by far the worst book I have ever read, period. Not just Star Wars-wise. Well, it is the worst Star Wars book I've ever read. But period, this is the worst book I've ever read. So, Mr. Wendig, I hope you actually watch this review. You probably won't. I'm not that big on YouTube. But I'd like you to take some tips on how not to write a book, so that Aftermath Life Debt is actually tolerable to read, and doesn't make people want to go blind and deaf. So, anyway guys, have a nice day, because I sure as hell won't. I'm in a very, very foul mood. Later, fucks. Stay frosty, my friends.